Hello students, this is a very short video where we will discuss the unboundedness in simplex method. So there are some situations where the LPP may have an unbounded solution. So some of these we had studied during our lecture in the college when we were doing graphical solution. So let us see how to deal with this unboundedness in case of simplex method. Okay. So if the objective function has no finite optimal value and it can be increased or decreased arbitrarily, then the LPP is said to possess an unbounded solution. Okay. For example, maximize z equal to x1 plus x2 subject to these constraints minus x1 plus 2x2 less than or equal to 2, x1 plus 3x2 greater than or equal to 3 has an unbounded solution. Okay. So I had done a similar problem in class. So when I was doing graphical method, so for this particular problem also, if you plot the graph, you will see that this is the first constraint, this one, this is the first constraint here, and right, this is the first constraint, this is the second constraint here, okay, and the line corresponding to the second constraint. Okay, and the feasible region is this place is the feasible region. Okay, so you see that the feasible region is unbounded here. Okay, and if we plot the cost line, this is the cost line corresponding to z equal to 1. Okay, this is the cost line, and if we move the cost line parallel to itself, okay, in order to reach a point in the feasible region which is or in order to reach to a position in the feasible region where the cost line is farthest from the origin. Okay, if we do that, then you will see that we cannot move to a fixed position where it is farthest. Okay, because if you see, if we move from here to here, say if we move to this position, okay, then also there is much more space on the right side where we can move further. Okay, so we can keep on moving the cost line parallel to itself. Say I have moved from here to this position again, so still there is so much of space to go. Okay, so there is no bound here, we can increase the value of z as much as we want. Okay, so this type of situation gives us the unbounded solution in an LPP. Okay, so how to study the unboundedness in case of simplex method. Okay, in the simplex table, under what situation we can conclude that the solution is unbounded. Okay, so in simplex table, the unboundedness can be seen in the following manner. If at any iteration of the simplex algorithm Cj minus Zj, that is delta j, is greater than 0. Okay, so once we get delta j greater than 0, what is the next step? We look for the largest possible delta j, okay, that is there in the table, and we select that particular corresponding column as the incoming vector, and we compute the minimum ratio of xb divided by the corresponding elements of that incoming vector, provided the elements are non-negative, or provided the elements are positive. Okay, even 0 will not work, right? So if there is a situation where all the entries in that particular column are negative, okay, negative or 0, in that case it's not possible to select the outgoing vector. Okay, so in such a situation we will say that the given LPP has unbounded solution. Okay, so this is what I have explained here. If at any iteration of the simplex algorithm Cj minus Zj, which is delta j, is greater than 0 for at least one j, but for this j yij is less than or equal to 0 for all I. Okay, that is every entry of the corresponding vector is less than or equal to 0. Okay, then the LPP has unbounded solution. Okay, so let us see one example. Show that the following LPP has an unbounded solution. Okay, so maximize z equal to 2x2 plus x3 subject to these constraints, x1 plus x2 minus 2x3 less than or equal to 7. Okay, minus 3x1 plus x2 plus 2x3 less than or equal to 3. Okay, so we will proceed as we have done earlier, introducing slack variables s1 and s2, we get this, and then putting x1, x2, x3 equal to 0, we get s1 equal to 7, s2 equal to 3 as our initial basic feasible solution. So we construct the simplex table this way now. and this already I had explained in the earlier videos. So those who have missed, please see the earlier videos. You will be able to understand how this table is constructed. Okay, so once we construct this table and compute this delta j, you will see that delta j's are 2, 1. These are positive delta j. So we select the maximum positive from here, maximum delta j. Okay, so as you can see, this 2 is the maximum possible delta j, and the corresponding vector, that is x2, is the incoming vector. Okay, so we will find out the ratio of xb divided by x2 because it's the incoming vector now. Okay, and provided these entries are all positive. Okay, so here both are positive, that's not a problem. So 7 divided by 1, this is 7. 3 divided by 1. Okay, first one is 7 divided by 1, next one is 3 divided by 1. Okay, so out of 7 and 3, the smallest is this, minimum is this, so this 3 corresponds to s2. S2 is the outgoing vector. Okay, so s2 will leave the basis. Okay, so in the next step, what will happen, s1 will remain and s2 will leave the basis, and in place of s2, x2 will enter. Okay, so the cost corresponding to x2 is 2. Okay, and what is the key element here? Key element is 1, so we have to divide this particular row, the outgoing vector row, by 1. Yeah, so dividing by 1, it's all the same, it remains as it is. Next we have to make this particular element 0. Okay, the other elements in that column we have to make 0, right? So how to make it 0? R1 changes to R1 minus R2. Okay, this is what we will do here in this position. What is done here? R1 is changing to R1 minus R2. Okay, this is what is done. So you can see 7 minus 3 is 4. Okay, 1 minus minus 3 is 4. Okay, like that. 1 minus 1 is 0. Minus 2 is minus 4. Okay, this way we get, and then we again compute zj and delta j. Okay, so you see that all these are less than or equal to 0, but this is greater than 0. Okay, so this is a positive delta j. So since it is positive, we make an arrow here, and the corresponding vector, that is x1, is the incoming vector. Okay, so we have to calculate the minimum ratio of xb by x1. Okay, so this you can note here, xb by x1, provided the entries of x1 are less positive. Okay, so if it is less than or equal to 0, we will not consider that entry. So the first one is 4 divided by 4. Okay, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 3 divided by minus 3, that will not be considered because minus 3 is negative. Okay, so this is not considered, right? So the minimum ratio here comes out to be 1, which corresponds to the vector s1. So s1 will leave the basis. Okay, so in the next step, x1 will enter and s1 will leave, and you have to the key element here is 4, so we have to divide by the key element, divide this particular row by the key element. So 1 1 0 minus 4 by 4 is minus 1, 1 by 4 is 1 by 4, like that. Okay, and then we have to make this particular entry 0. Okay, so how to make it 0? We have to make it 0 using this command. Okay, R2 changes to, what happened? R2 changes to R2 plus 3 times of R1. Okay, so you can see this is just matrix elementary row operations of matrices. Okay, so this second row plus 3 times of the first row. Okay, the new first row, right? So it's 3 plus 3 into 1, so it's 6. Okay, this one will be 0, so that way the computation is done, and then you calculate delta j, which is cj minus zj, and it comes out to be one of them comes out to be positive. Okay, so since it is positive, our solution is not optimal so far. So but you see this particular column here, all the entries are negative, so that means we cannot select our outgoing vector now. Okay, and this to both the entries, they are all these two entries are negative, so we cannot select the outgoing vector in this case. Okay, so under such situation, we can conclude that the LPP has unbounded solution. So this is what I have written here. delta 3, which is delta 3 means delta 1 means the delta corresponding to the first column, delta 2 means for the second column, delta 3 is for the third column. Okay, so here delta 3 is 3, 3 is greater than 0, but yi3, that is the entries of the matrix, yi3 is less than 0 for all I. Okay, so the LPP has unbounded solution, right? So we cannot conclude anything from here, right? So yeah, so the LPP has unbounded solution. That is, there are no optimal solution. We can increase the value of z as much as we want. Okay. So this was about unbounded solution. So in the very next lecture, I'll be discussing on the artificial variables technique. That is the BigM method. How to solve an LPP by BigM method. Okay. Till then, thank you.